I find that very strange. There we go. All right, back to the kings. We're now going to be focusing a little bit on the northern kingdom for a while. We're focusing on Judah. Now we got to go back and get through the next several kings of Israel. 1 Kings 15, starting in verse 25. Nadab, son of Jeroboam, became king of Israel in the second year of Asa, king of Judah. Now Asa had a very long reign, so we're going to be reading a lot. We're going to be reading a lot of kings that come along in Israel during the 41 years that Asa is in Judah. And he reigned over Israel for 2 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, walking in the ways of his father, Jeroboam, and in his sin, which he had caused Israel to commit. Every northern king of Israel, every king in the northern kingdom, is going to walk in the ways of Jeroboam and cause Israel to commit the same sins that Jeroboam did. And Jeroboam's sin, of course, was to replace God's worship system with his own. And every king of Israel is going to do the same thing. And some of them are going to go even further than that and be even worse than that. But they're all going to do at least that. They're all, just like David set the example for their king of righteousness by never turning to other gods. Even though he committed sins, he never committed idolatry. He never turned to follow other gods. So he's the example of righteousness that we're following. And Jeroboam is an example of wickedness. And every northern king is going to follow Jeroboam's example. Some of them are going to add to that and commit even worse sins. But they're all going to do at least the evil that Jeroboam did. All of them, every one of them. Baasha, son of Ahijah, of the house of Issachar, plotted against him. And he struck him down at Gibbethon, a Philistine town, while Nadab and all Israel were besieging it. Baasha killed Nadab in the 3rd year of Asa, king of Judah, and succeeded him as king. So this was an actual military battle they were having, and while they were having it, Baasha committed a coup. As soon as he began to reign, he killed Jeroboam's whole family. He did not leave Jeroboam anyone that breathed, but destroyed them all, according to the word of the Lord given through his servant Ahijah the Shilonite, because of the sins Jeroboam had committed and had caused Israel to commit, and because he provoked the Lord, the God of Israel's anger. It's one thing to commit your own sins. That's bad enough. That'll cause you separation from God in its own right. But it's a whole other thing to cause others to commit sins, and to set a precedent for generations to come to commit sins. Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, is going to be blamed over and over and over and over again throughout the rest of these books for causing Israel to commit these sins. Just think of all the times that we're going to be reading that. We're going to be reading that a lot. Every king, every northern king of Israel, in the final summation of the kingdom, we're going to be reading everything goes back to Jeroboam's sins, which he committed and which he caused Israel to commit. I don't know how that factors into the day of punishment. Okay, Jeroboam is dead. But for the next 200 plus years, we're going to be reading about his legacy of evil, his legacy of unfaithfulness and sin that he caused Israel to commit. I don't know how that's going to factor in on the day of punishment. On the day of judgment, is he going to be held accountable for the sins he committed in his own life, in his own day and time, in his own body? And how much of that is going to be, added on to by his legacy of causing Israel to commit sin? I don't know. That's something that God will be responsible for. I don't have to make that decision. So Jeroboam is fingered as the guy that set everything astray, and none of the northern kings after him ever corrected course. So it should be something that makes us wonder. Okay, if you want to put yourself in a position of leadership, I don't seek that. I'm going to admit freely, I don't seek to make myself a leader. I don't seek to be the king or the president or anybody important. Okay, I don't seek that. I do not, never have sought that in my life. But if you do, if you are somebody who does seek that or is given that, and somehow ends up in that position, keep in mind that There's an element about your own sin to factor into, and also the sin that you cause others to commit. Your example will influence others, for good or for bad. Okay, where was I? As for all the other events of Nadab's reign and all he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? There was war between Asa and Baasha, king of Israel, throughout their reigns. Now, I read about in Chronicles there was 20 years of peace in Asa's day. So this isn't constant open warfare. I mentioned that earlier. We did get an example of a big battle in Abijah's day. But we're not talking about like constant, continuous warfare of dozens of thousands of men fighting each other on a regular basis. This is more referring to a state of just constant strife and disharmony that occasionally has battles, probably mostly just has border skirmishes, and occasionally breaks out into huge battles like I read about in, Second Chronicles in the days of Abijah. In the third year of Asa, king of Judah, Baasha, son of Ahijah, became king of all Israel in Tirzah. So Tirzah was his capital city. And he reigned 24 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord. What a surprise. He's a king of Israel. What a surprise he did evil. Walking in the ways of Jeroboam and in his sin, which he had caused Israel to commit. Then the word of the Lord came to Jehu, son of Hanani, against Baasha. I don't know if this is the same Hanani who prophesied against Asa or not. I mean, we read about Hanani speaking to Asa near the end of Asa's reign. So that probably hasn't even happened yet. And this is some guy's son, the son of some guy named Hanani. It could be a father-son team that were active at the same time. Could be. I don't know. I have no idea. They have a lot of names. I mean, Baasha's father's name was Ahijah, but that is not the same guy as Ahijah the prophet, who gave the word, who spoke the word of the Lord to Jeroboam. Definitely not the same guy. So I don't know. It's like they have a lot of overlapping names. So this could be the same Hanani, or it could be a different guy named Hanani. And anyway, this is his son, a guy named Jehu. We're going to have a King Jehu later. So a lot of these names do get repeated. So anyway, here's the word of the Lord that Jehu spoke against Baasha. I lifted you up from the dust, and made you leader of my people Israel. But you walked in the ways of Jeroboam, and caused my people Israel to sin, and to provoke me to anger by their sins. So, I am about to consume Baasha and his house, and I will make your house like that of Jeroboam son of Nebat. Dogs will eat those belonging to Baasha who die in the city, and the birds of the air will feed on those who die in the country. We saw that prophecy given against Jeroboam. And same thing's going to happen to Baasha. Baasha didn't learn a thing from Jeroboam's bad example. As to the other events of Baasha's reign, what he did and his achievements, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Baasha rested with his fathers and was buried in Tirzah, and Elah his son succeeded him as king. So Baasha himself did not suffer this fate. He was given a proper burial in Tirzah, his capital city. He did not end up getting eaten by dogs or birds, but everybody else in his family will. Moreover, the word of the Lord came through the prophet Jehu, son of Hanani, to Baasha and his house, because of all the evil he had done in the eyes of the Lord, provoking him to anger by the things he did, and becoming like the house of Jeroboam, and also because he destroyed it. So he is held responsible for his evil. Even the evil that God said would happen in the acts of violence against Jeroboam's house. That's a tough thing to wrap your head around sometimes. But just because God said that it was going to happen doesn't mean the guy who did it was a godly guy who was doing it for the same reasons God said it was going to be done. In the 26th year of Asa, king of Judah, Elah, son of Baasha, became king of Israel, and he reigned in Tirzah 2 years. Zimri, one of his officials, who had command of half his chariots, this is a military commander now, and they have their own homegrown chariot army. chariot army now at last, plotted against him. Elah was in Tirzah at the time, getting drunk in the home of Arza, the man in charge of the palace at Tirzah. So he was at home getting drunk. He thought he didn't think he was in any danger at all. Zimri came in, struck him down, and killed him in the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah. Then he succeeded him as king. As soon as he began to reign and was seated on the throne, he killed off Baasha's whole family. He did not spare a single male, whether relative or friend. So Zimri destroyed the whole family of Baasha, in accordance with the word of the Lord spoken against Baasha through the prophet Jehu, because of all the sins that Baasha and his son Elah had committed and had caused Israel to commit. So they provoked the Lord, the God of Israel, to anger by their worthless idols. As for the other events of Elah's reign and all he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? In the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah, Zimri reigned in Tirzah for 7 days. He didn't even get a year. He probably didn't even have a proper coronation ceremony. He just declared himself king. He was a military commander. He had command of half the chariots. Of course, it also means he didn't have command of half the chariots. I guess they didn't really want that guy to be king, I guess. The army was encamped near Gibbethon, a Philistine town. So we're still here. We're still fighting for Gibbethon. We had this problem back in the days of Baasha, and we still are now, even after Baasha is done, and Elah, his son, is done. When the Israelites in the camp heard that Zimri had plotted against the king and murdered him, they proclaimed Omri, the commander of the army, king over Israel that very day there in the camp. They wanted Omri. They didn't want Zimri. Zimri, I guess, took it upon himself to become king. Maybe he thought he had more support than he actually did. I don't know. Then Omri and all the Israelites with him withdrew from Gibbethon, so they still haven't recaptured Gibbethon. They still haven't gotten Gibbethon, and laid siege to Tirzah. When Zimri saw the city was taken, he went into the citadel of the royal palace and set the palace on fire around him. So he died, because of the sins he had committed, doing evil in the eyes of the Lord, and walking in the ways of Jeroboam, and in the sin he had committed and had caused Israel to commit. Zimri, of course, only reigned for 7 days, so he didn't have much time to do anything bad as king. But I'm guessing his character was such that he was not going to be any better than the other guys, huh? He already bought into the system that Jeroboam set up, and there's no reason to think he had done anything differently if he'd had a longer reign as king. As to the other events of Zimri's reign and the rebellion he carried out, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? By him burning the royal palace at Tirzah, whatever that looked like, however royal or palace-like it was at that time, he is, first of all, depriving Omri of the satisfaction of killing him, and also depriving Omri of a capital. Omri is going to have to find a new capital for himself. Tirzah had been the capital since Baasha's day, but Omri is going to have to find another one because Zimri destroyed it. So we've gone from the dynasty of Jeroboam. He got one son on the throne. Then he was replaced by Baasha, who got one son on the throne. Then he was replaced briefly, if you can even call it replaced, by Zimri, who was only on the throne for a week. And now we're down to Omri. So this is our 4th dynasty of Israel already. And no dynasty has had more than 2 kings so far. Omri is going to be strong enough, though, that he is going to establish some stability, some evil stability. I mean, it's not a good stability, but Omri is strong enough. He's a military guy, okay? So now we're seeing the military take over and just become the kings themselves through violence and force. And Omri is going to be strong enough that he is going to establish some stability and actually have a dynasty go on for a while here. But he's not a good guy, okay? Omri is not a good guy, and his son is not a good guy. This is not a good dynasty. Then the people of Israel were split into 2. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to stop there, actually. Omri himself is not in the story for very long, but his house is going to be. The house of Omri, chiefly through his son Ahab, is going to be a major antagonist here for the next several chapters. So I think I will go ahead and leave that there for today, and we will pick up the story again with Omri himself is basically a prologue figure. He's not going to be in the story for very long, but he's going to set the table for the reign of Ahab and Jezebel, Ahab's wife, and that's going to be a very important period of time. So we'll go ahead and dive into that next time.